Influencers as a whole are not media buys. They're distribution partners with built-in trust. The biggest mistake brands make is treating influencers like ad units instead of storytellers. If you brief them like a billboard, you're going to get billboard results. Influencers work best at the top and the middle of the funnel. They create belief, familiarity, and context. They're terrible at direct selling unless the brand already has demand. The goal is not immediate bookings, even though hotels don't understand that. The goal is memory. When someone is ready to travel, the brand they remember wins. Engagement should be long term and relationship driven. One off stays create one off results. Ongoing partnerships build narrative arcs, and the most effective brands let influencers return multiple times, evolve their story, speak honestly, because trust compounds. You know, brands need to stop chasing the vanity numbers and start chasing relevance.
You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing Podcasts. Here's Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lee with the E-Marketing Association. I wear a bunch of other hats too. I own an agency, Did It. I own a supplement brand, Truth Nutrition, and I run a nonprofit called Giving Forward. There's also an incubator, but no time to talk about the stuff that's in there. Super excited to talk to Scott Eddy today because a lot of marketing is really about, emotion, and few categories elicit as much emotion as travel does, right? In particular, luxury travel. So wanted to chat with you a little bit, Scott, about that industry and the various channels of marketing and how things are changing there. So let's jump in and talk about, storytelling and how storytelling within travel and hospitality is key because you do a lot of work around social media in the category and you help brands develop their storytelling strategy. So how do you work with the brands in the hospitality world to help them craft that messaging? Some of them are B2B, some of them are luxury B2C. So I'm sure that the strategies are pretty different.
I mean, the starting point is always the same. Storytelling is not content, storytelling is the intent. Most brands jump straight to content production without ever defining what they want the audience to feel, believe, or do differently after consuming it. I start by mapping the emotional outcome first, then reverse engineering everything and really looking at the story layers that support it. For hospitality, the core emotional drivers are aspiration, trust, belonging, and transformation. If you don't know which one of these you're selling, you're just posting pretty pictures, which essentially is what every brand is doing. Very few actually have a strategy.
So I would see that certainly resonating on the luxury consumer focused communications. But obviously, a big chunk of travel is B2B travel, and they intersect sometimes because you have events and conferences sometimes happening at a luxury property, but you also have sort of standard just business travel. And so, how do you come up with a different set of emotional resonances around B2B travel versus luxury B2C? And sort of how do you advise the brands who are trying to straddle those two in we're having them work in synergy with each other?
So, business travel storytelling is about control and the reduction of friction. Nobody wants inspiration when they're late for a meeting. They
Right.
want certainty, reliability, speed. The story here is competence and efficiency. The visuals are sharper, the message is clearer, and the narrative is focused on outcomes rather than feelings. If luxury sells a dream, business travel sells peace of mind. Where brands go wrong is trying to blend the two. A luxury hotel that talks like a business brand sounds cold. And a business brand that talks like a luxury brand sounds disconnected from reality. The strategy is choosing which emotion promise you're making and committing to it fully across every touch point. This, I mean, it really goes to show in the beginning, you really need to know who you are, what your brand personality is. And again, everything you do has to be reverse engineered. Start with the outcome and go backwards.
That's a great point. I'm sure at some point you've also worked with the sort of the government or associations, like a tourism bureau of a Caribbean island or a city or a state. And so obviously they also have to sort of straddle this messaging, right? So when you work with an organization that represents multiple brands, but has to come up with the emotional triggers and the stories around a destination location, are there any things that you would recommend differently for them?
To be honest with them, it's actually very easy. With them, you lean into culture, go deep, 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 do a deep dive into the culture, into the food, into the music, into that whole scene. And I mean, DMOs really and CVBs really have the ultimate playground for storytelling because they can go ridiculously deep. Um, Not that they do, and they're among the most frustrating to work with in this industry, but they really have the ultimate capability. I mean, there's some people that do it very, very well. Visit California is excellent. Australia is excellent. New Zealand is excellent. Thailand does a very good job. There's certain places that really do a good job, but they are few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've also had those as clients, so those
Oh,
organizations as
so
clients, and
frustrating.
it's
So,
it's extremely frustrating,
oh,
especially when you look at the difference of the opportunity cost of not doing it right. I mean,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
crazy.
yeah. So we all hope that some of those happen to be watching and
Right.
can figure out how to eliminate the internal political barriers, which often are the ones that are the constituent, the challenges is the infighting within the organizations as far as serving multiple masters and those kinds of things. But that's probably true more broadly as well. But let's jump into like the sources of the storytelling and then who should be the storytellers, right? So obviously in travel, your customers are often the ones experiencing the delight of the brand and the delight of the property and the delight of the experience around the property and its amenities. So, you know, how do you tap into those stories that come from the customers in such a way? How do you activate those or collect those? Is there proactive activation of that teams need to be doing, or do you just rely on it organically within social media?
Well, there's a certain element where you do have to rely on it organically. And that just goes, so what you're putting out is really what you're getting back. So if you have a very good strategy in place and you're posting every day and you're really pushing out good stuff, you're going to get reactions from that are very, very organic. But you should have a whole UGC campaign. You should have activations, especially if you're a destination. You can have activations all around that just creates impromptu UGC. And you just really have to lean into this. And this is where, in my opinion, I don't think brands, and when I say brands, I mean anything from a hotel to an airline to a destination. I think they do a really bad job in communication. And what that means is I don't mean the PR department. I mean if somebody comments on something, do you know that 90% of the time that comment goes unanswered? Like,
I
do you
believe it.
understand? That is the equivalent of you walking down the street, somebody walking by you, and them saying, "Hey, good morning, how are you?" And you just continue, don't even give them eye contact and just walk by. There is a human on the other side of the comment. It is the most disrespectful thing that you can possibly do in social media. It's literally my number one pet peeve. It drives me out of my mind. How can you not reply to another human? They're
Yeah.
taking time out of their day. So I just you're laughing because it's so ridiculously true.
Yeah, no, I'm
Um,
I'm envisioning it, right? It's even beyond just them saying hello, right? Because sometimes you're walking the other direction and they're telling you that your collar is out of place and you're ignoring them. Like they're providing constructive feedback and you're ignoring it.
crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So I just think this is a fundamental part of every strategy that you have to have out there. I do not think that there should come a time where you should say, I don't have time to reply to comments. It is the tippy top of the pyramid for every company out there.
Yeah, I think what a lot of brands don't realize that within the last year, they have an additional reason to amp that up beyond just the being polite and responding. But ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, these chatbots rely on ingesting content and
Yeah,
deciding who gets surfaced for
yeah,
different queries
yeah.
based on them ingesting them in all these places, whether it's communities like Reddit or reviews or any of these other places that are publicly ingestible. So for a brand to ignore that narrative, right? They're shooting themselves in the foot for 6 months later when somebody does a chat GPT or Perplexity
Right.
or Claude or Gemini query, and they wonder like, oh, why am I getting a negative result? Or why am I not showing up at all? It's not just SEO anymore. Now it's GEO, right? So, and this idea of interaction in communities and in social media and digital PR, if you don't do that, you're in trouble. So that's just an aside from my perspective. So after you've sort of dealt with obviously commenting and engaging with customers, you've also got travel brands trying to decide, okay, do travel influencers come into play, right? Because influencers bring two things to the party. They bring their reach, their network, and they bring their authenticity of their personal brand. And sometimes it would seem like, at least on the surface, like this is something that a brand should be delving into. So are there any things they should they do it? And if they do it, what should be their guidelines?
So influencers as a whole are not media buys. They're distribution partners with built-in trust. The biggest mistake brands make is treating influencers like ad units instead of storytellers. If you brief them like a billboard, you're going to get billboard results. Influencers work best at the top and the middle of the funnel. They create belief, familiarity, and context. They're terrible at direct selling unless the brand already has demand. The goal is not immediate bookings, even though hotels don't understand that. The goal is memory. When someone is ready to travel, the brand they remember wins. Engagement should be long term and relationship driven. One off stays create one off results. Ongoing partnerships build narrative arcs, and the most effective brands let influencers return multiple times, evolve their story, speak honestly, because trust compounds. You know, brands need to stop chasing the vanity numbers and start chasing relevance. I've been building my audience on social media since day one. I was very early on everything. I was first 2,000 people on Twitter. I was the first American expat in every Asian country to have 1 million followers on Twitter back when they first launched. And that got me front page news. That got me speaking gigs. It all compounded. So I started off, even though I had a digital agency in Thailand, I started off when people view me from the outside looking in and they just look at my social media, I'm an influencer to them. It's only after I have a conversation that they understand that I do other things. So when I tell you, I get the most ridiculous offers from hotels. Do you know how often I get an email saying, okay, come visit my hotel? One of the deliverables are giving them a 5-star review across all review platforms.
Okay.
That is super common in the influencer space, like very common.
Yeah.
This is why I don't trust reviews because they're all garbage.
Yeah.
If
That's
I give a review, I never use TripAdvisor because that's all ridiculous. I do Google review, and I only do a review if I either really know the property well or I spend an enormous amount of time in lobbies and just watching. I know they're going to treat me special, but I watch how they're going to treat everybody else. And it's only then will I give a proper Google review. And it's very honest and very direct and I'll call out the Wi Fi, I'll call out everything, but
yeah.
it's very honest. And regardless if they're a paid partner or not.
Yeah, that's a great point. A bunch of great points. I want to take a quick tangent because it just flew into my head, right? Because you're talking about stuff that happens in mid to upper funnel, and of course, the demand harvesting that happens at the bottom of the funnel, super critical as well. And one of the things that, my travel clients have always struggled with is the sort of direct booking versus OTA conflict, right? And as it relates to it from a yield management perspective, and what do I prefer, and how do I change consumer behavior, and then you've got the whole points overlay on top of that. It's like that just seems like an octopus that entangling is nearly impossible. So, have you ever had to work through the client's sort of channel strategy as it relates to the OTAs versus direct bookings?
So I don't think that it's a versus.
Okay.
Here's what I mean. If they don't want the OTAs, flip the switch and turn them off. They're in complete control.
Yeah.
They can't because they're horrible at marketing.
Right.
And then is all they do is complain about the percentage that they take from them. So this is how I view OTAs. I love OTAs. I never advise anybody to flip that switch. You know why? Because I use OTAs as a discovery tool. Instead of typical hotels take guests that book through OTA and you are completely blackballed. You cannot check in 1 minute before you're allotted. You can't have two beds instead of one. You booked one bed. You can't have the water. You can't have anything because you booked and they took all my commission. So you can't have anything. I look at it the opposite way. The bookings brought you to my resort. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to treat you like a king. I am going to if I have a room available, you're getting that early check-in. You might even get a free drink at the bar. I'm giving you that bottled water in your room. And then when you leave, after I make sure that you have a fantastic time because they're going to be color coded in the system so everybody knows to treat these guys good. When you leave, I'm going to be like, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, I'm so happy that you booked with us. And I did see that you booked through booking.com. If you join us again, here's a 20% coupon for the next time you book if you book direct. Have a wonderful day. I guarantee you, if they come to your area again, they're staying with you.
Yeah, that's an
What's your
amazing point.
downside?
Yeah, yeah,
Because then if they book with you direct, you got them forever.
yeah. That's an amazing point because the brands that sell in Amazon have the same challenge, or Walmart or any of the other marketplaces,
100%.
right? And it's sort of when the consumer decides that they're looking for your brand, they're going to go where they choose to transact, right? Not where you
Perfect.
choose to push them, because they don't want to change their behavior. So delighting them to the point where you can establish a PII, personal information relationship with them, that's something that actually hospitality has an advantage over a consumer products good selling on Amazon or a flat
Correct.
screen TV or anything else that you might buy on Amazon. So that's an excellent point. I agree with you 100%. Take that opportunity to delight that customer even a smidge more than the one you already
Right.
have.
Yeah.
Um, so let's jump over to a conundrum that is also being faced within every industry, and travel's no different. Which is that with the advent of ChatGPT and Google deciding that they're now going to sometimes put AI overviews above the organic results, you've seen significant precipitous drops in organic traffic, in particular for the content-heavy sites, but also for the branded sites as well. So obviously within my agency, GEO is hot. But do you think social media can fill in some of that gap? Do you feel like that kind of additional alternative channels besides harvesting within search can fill that gap?
Absolutely. I mean, social media ranks so high in search results. Um, you know, listen, the SEO declined. SEO isn't dying, it's being absorbed. Search is no longer a list of links, it's an answer engine. So if your brand isn't part of the answer, you disappear. Period. You are going to see more places go out of business quicker in the next 10 years than we've seen in the past 100 because they are literally going to fall off the face of the earth
Yeah.
because people don't understand. People like, oh, I like the way it was, and I like this, and I just had learned how to master this, and now AI is coming along, and da 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 da. Listen, you can cry about it all you want. Technology is undefeated. It's not an if; it's here, and it's moving faster than anything we've ever seen. It's moving faster than the internet when it was created. I mean, it's going 1,000 miles an hour, and it's only going to get quicker. You need to sit down. You need to have a strategy. You need to redo. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm flying to Jamaica tomorrow. My mother was born there, so I represent a lot of hotels and a lot of places down there. So I work very heavily with this one hotel group down there, S Hotel. They have a property in Kingston and a property in Montego Bay. We're going down there, so we do all their content, we do all their photos, video, everything, and we just did a shoot, video and photo shoot last year in the beginning of the year. But now we're going to reshoot everything, but go deeper into storytelling and give fuller answers to a lot of the questions in the video. So, in other words, back in the day, you would just search on Google best hotels in Miami Beach. That's it. You'd get 119 pages. You'd pick something off the top five and you'd go. But now, as you and I both know, people are going on ChatGPT like my this is a real example. My friend told me this a couple of weeks ago. Hey, we're going to Miami Beach in a couple of weeks. I want a hotel that when I walk out of the back, I want my toes in the sand. I want a good happy hour, lively happy hour in the lobby. I want to be able to walk to a few restaurants. I don't want to get killed with valet parking. So somewhere that's least, I mean, they're having a 15-minute conversation with ChatGPT. Guess how many, guess how many they're giving them as a result? One, maybe two.
Yeah.
So if you're focusing on the brand right now and stop selling your specials, you're going to be dead. You're going to, like, I cannot say this loud enough. You're going to be super, super dead. Now, going back to what you were saying, social media, it doesn't replace search, but it feeds it. It feeds it
Absolutely.
a lot. So if you're not investing in social now, your SEO decline will go into overdrive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's crazy because folks ask me, what's predictive of high likelihood to show up in a generative engine result or an answer engine result? And if I had to sum it up, be a good marketer, right? Because the byproducts of being a good marketer is you end up getting organic social, you end
Of
up getting
course.
PR coverage, you end up getting testimonials that show up. And they're like, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, you better learn, right? Because otherwise you're in big, big trouble. So you mentioned video shoots for your clients down in Jamaica, and video is super powerful, right? It communicates experiences, it talks about amenities, within the video, whether it was a testimonial video or, a programmed video, it's going to end up with a lot of different content, some of which will get, transcribed and then get ingested by the LM. So again, for answer engine optimization or GEO.
Yeah.
So, but do you recommend that who's ever editing the video actually do different cuts of the video for the different platforms, like it's TikTok versus YouTube versus Reels? Do you take the same thing and push it out, or should you really be thinking about the different channels?
When I get people ask me if I can share the same video to every platform, I want to take whoever invented the share all button. I want to take them and throw them off the biggest rooftop that you can possibly imagine. It is the most ridiculous thing in the world. If you let's again reverse engineer it. Let's think about this. When you're on Facebook, Facebook is your mother's, your father's, your niece, your uncles, your cousins. It's family. You have a different emotional mindset. You are scrolling slower. If you notice, the ads move slower. The captions on the ads are longer because people spend more time on them. This is why a Facebook ROI ad is still amazing. But if you're on Instagram, you're going a little bit, you're fun, you're looking at travel stuff, you're looking at the foodie stuff, you have friends and just fun stuff. If you're on TikTok, you're even more quick, you're scrolling quicker. Every platform has its own personality, therefore they should be treated as such. So asking that question, yes, absolutely, 1 billion%. And
I knew what you were
brands
going to
that
say.
yeah,
It was
brands
a
that don't
softball.
do this, you're wasting money. You're flushing money down the toilet.
Yeah.
You know, it, it's not only do they have their own personality, they also have their own psychology. If you think about TikTok is discovery and speed, Reels is aspiration and aesthetics, YouTube is intent and depth. Posting the same video everywhere, it's lazy.
Yeah.
The core story can say the same, but the execution must change. The hook timing, the caption style, the pacing, the aspect ratio, you know, even the first frame matters. The audience decides in seconds whether to stay or leave. And those seconds are going down every day. You know that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's an ADD
It's
world out there.
crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I can see where some agencies and or brands would sort of give you the pushback, like, I don't have, I don't have the ability to make all these different edits. And there are some new tools coming out, like AI and enhanced tools that could hypothetically shortcut
Do you
that.
know do you know why they say that? Because they're just concentrating on their deliverables.
Hmm.
This is why I always advise. And again, I come from the agency world. I had a digital agency. We managed properties, a lot of them. I advise every single property to create a team internally and have everything on property. Yeah, listen, it's inevitable you're going to outsource some things. I mean, I'm being brought in to a property in Jamaica. So it's that part is inevitable. But your core team, you have to have them on property. You have to be able to post in real time sometimes. You have to be able to reply in real time. You have to say, "Oh my God, it's raining today." It's not doom and gloom. Let's talk about the rain. You're in a tropical location like Jamaica. You're going to get rain. There's still a lot of fun things to do while it's raining. So let's make it fun. Oreo cookies did the famous campaign during the Super Bowl when the lights went out in, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that. Dunk in the dark. And that is what really started the fun social media marketing for junk food. Because after that, it was like full on McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, like all the food that we love that's trash. These guys are the best marketers on the planet because there's no latency, like there's no delay.
Yeah.
They don't need 15 approvals. The board doesn't have to approve. Oh, can you approve that tweet? Okay, thanks. Can you do that 50 times a day? Like, are you joking?
Yeah. That's a great point. I'd love to delve a little bit deeper onto the in-house teams side of things because obviously, some properties have 1,500 rooms, others have 300 rooms, and some have 50 rooms. And the 50 room might be a privately held, family run enterprise, right? It may be like a bit more than an Airbnb, practically. Like they're on that early part of the continuum. And so in that case, the owners are going to probably end up owning this as part of their responsibility, or maybe they have an assistant that could take on part of it. Whereas, the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach, okay, it's gigantic property, a lot of rooms, could easily have an internal social media manager or a team or portions of a team. So, how do you advise if you're talking about a lodging type hospitality location? How do you advise them differently based on their size? Like, and how do they make the time, right, to do this?
So a lot of properties hire me to help them hire people, help them vet the right people. I create the internal digital playbook. I work with them for a few months. I'm there to be their crutch, and then off they go. I mean, listen, there is no two properties that are the same.
Of course.
It doesn't matter if you have five properties and each one has 500 keys. If they're in five different locations, everyone is different. They might have similarities, but everyone is different. So, I mean, a property with 50 keys, that's one owner, and they're just running on skeletons. You need one strong person, maybe two. I mean, you don't have to be a monster in real life. You don't have to be like a gigantic property to have a gigantic presence on social. You know this.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so we talked a lot about a few marketing channels, but are there any marketing channels and or strategies travel brands should be using, but they're not using enough, like sort of missed opportunities or white space that they should be going after?
I have two. Number one, LinkedIn has changed. LinkedIn changed about 2 years ago, but really about 18 months ago. It's turning more and more into Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So this is the best of both worlds. I mean, I'm advising every property in the world to get on LinkedIn. Not one has listened to me. Let me tell you what's going to happen. Let's play the crystal ball. Right now, there's more users than content. So your content gets shown to more users. What's going to happen, and what's happened with every platform out there, is once they have more content than users, then your reach becomes less and less and less. That's what's been done on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Thread. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. As soon as it becomes a powerhouse, you're done. You can't grow anymore. I mean, it's almost impossible to grow unless you hit that, grand slam once in your life and you go viral and you gain a couple hundred followers. But LinkedIn's an absolute gold mine. It is an absolute gold mine. And I think that brands that don't get on there now will regret it in 2 years, maybe less. I also think that brands, again, this is for the right brands that have the capability and really have the capability. Don't just say you don't have the capability. Have the capability of having two, three, four people plus on your marketing team. I think it's a very good idea to start a podcast. I think that every brand out there needs to become a media company, and they need to really leverage what they're doing. There are a lot of internal stories that can be told. A
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, that I agree with that for sure. I also see a little bit of a change, although it's very, very early to your earlier point about, telling everybody to go into LinkedIn and they're not. Another thing that I've noticed isn't happening as often as it should be was empowering more staff to be participatory, right? I mean, these folks
Your
have their own
staffs are your stars.
personalities.
They're your stars. They're the
Yeah,
stars of the show. I talk about it all the time on LinkedIn. Um, it's the 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 reason why I love LinkedIn so much, and the reason why I say now is the time for them to do it. Of course, it's a little bit early, but I'd rather be a little bit early than a little bit late because there's no checkered flag. You're never going to know when that perfect time is. So again, I'd rather be 5 minutes early than 1 minute late. So LinkedIn is the perfect platform and podcast, but LinkedIn is the perfect podcast to really go deep with storytelling with your employees. I mean, really, really like your chef that's been there for 20 years, your valet that probably has more stories than anybody on the property. I mean, it's literally an endless supply of stories.
yeah. I find that it's really, really rare for brands, and this isn't exclusive to travel. This is pretty much everywhere, that they
Yes.
don't even have a consistency in their employees linking to the company properly, right? Because when
Yeah.
you put into your editing your experience, if you don't do it right, then it doesn't become a hot link, and the logo doesn't show up, and you've got sometimes C-suite members of the team who have it incorrectly, like they put incorporated after it because that's what's on the corporate papers, but then it doesn't show up because it's not how a previous person set the company page up, right? And I mean, it is just like rookie mistakes, but yet they pervade
Yeah,
the
your
area.
digital infrastructure is so important. I mean, listen, guys, look at the calendar. We're in 2026. I mean, like we're not in this is not I mean, I'm speechless. Like it's I feel like I'm speaking to a kindergarten class. Like you have to keep saying the same thing. You have no idea. If I record 10 calls that I do in a day talking to different properties. Like I don't even have to be there. I could create an AI agent and do one call and then just hit repeat because I say the same thing on every single call. And then I scratch my head and wonder why it's unbelievable. Having said that, this is why you and I will have a job for the next 100 years because we work in an industry of dinosaurs.
Yeah. So one of the
T Rex.
things one of our clients that had an amazing it's a former client from 10 years ago, but they had one of the most passionate level of employees, and someone in legal decided that they would lock down the ability for their employees to mention the brand even with a hashtag in social media. And so you had literally, I think it was about six, no, but it's about 16,000 employees, many of whom were considered influencers in the category, right? But yet they were not allowed to talk about their employer. So to get legal to stop worrying and jump into at least maybe 10 years ago as opposed to the present day, right? How do you get them to stop worrying and start just letting your employees be part of the conversation?
Mean you're asking something that's so above my pay grade. It's not even funny. At the end of the day, every company is different. Every board is different. You're obviously talking about certain levels of companies.
Yeah.
Um,
Is- well, somebody
my
dropped an F-bomb 12 years ago and like ever, mentioning the brand in a fun way. Like, and
yeah,
ever since then, it was like nobody could ever talk about the brand again.
first off, I think that the people in legal they have to understand the world that we're living in. And then there has to be a transparent conversation with whoever the leadership is and the legal team, and there has to be some leeway given. I don't know that side of this more eloquently to talk about it, but I mean, I just I just like facing the problem. Like I'll deal right with it. I mean, most employees will hide under their desk and they have nothing to stand on. They can't even talk to legal. But at the end of the day, there has to be some middle way that everybody can agree on.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, probably somebody sufficiently senior is going to have to act as that catalyst, I think, to sort of open the
I mean,
conversation up.
listen, it's I fly drones, it's my hobby. I also do it for clients. I love flying. If I could fly every morning, I would. Uh, but in a lot of areas, if you ask if you can fly a drone, if they don't understand, it's a blanket no. It is an automatic no. But if they understand, they're like, oh, okay, maybe not here, but maybe over there, just go over there 50 yards, then you're good. I've seen both situations, and it's exactly the same.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so final question, what has you excited about the next year? Like for yourself, for your clients, for the industry?
I have a couple really big announcements coming out within the next month that I can't reveal. Um, but there's not going to be a significant change to what I'm doing. I am just going to every year that goes on, I get more and more picky. I'm, you know, it's sort of like as you get older in life, and if you're not married like me, I'm single, you get more and more picky about who you want to date. I get the same way about my clients. I get more and more picky. I'm like, you know what? This client just did something that's really annoying. From now on, any new client that I interview, if they do that, no way I'm taking them on. So, I mean, I'm just getting a little bit more narrow with how I pick my clients because I have no problem firing a client. I I still view this job as fun, and the day it feels like work, I will walk away from it. So in order for that to happen, I need to have fun with my clients. Like I'm in the content world. If I'm not having fun, my clients are going to suffer. And that's not, I mean, that's not fun. So that is other than those two big announcements, nothing's going to change except for I'm getting a lot more narrow and I'm going to have my harness of clients is going to be really, really highly selective and awesome.
That's awesome. We definitely both have the privilege of being excited about waking up every day and simultaneously helping clients out and having fun while we do it for sure. Thanks so much, Scott, for your wisdom and for sharing it with me and with the audience.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.